Hey everybody, so right now I think we have a special opportunity and I wanted to use this as a way to get you a little bit more background on Martin. One of the things that I continue to be amazed by is his level of accuracy and his detail orientation. And he happened to be here doing some work on the LS car, and a good friend of ours, Joe Huffaker of Joe Huffaker fame, Huffaker Engineering, Huffaker Motorsports, is here. Martin was doing a little bit of work for him, but Martin also brought one of the things that I think helps us understand his level of it has to be precise. So when you talk about scale, here's something, scale models. So Martin, just go back into what you were saying about this car. And folks, I think you'll just find it interesting and give you a little insight into why the plus or minus in Martin's life is so much smaller than the plus or minus in mine.
So this was my favorite race car. It was the car that worked the best. And I studied all the American magazines to understand what the hell they were doing. And you can see, I'll get to the body in a minute, because that's pretty much a production body, although I haven't been able to find a replacement because it got cracked and damaged, and I've replaced it just for historical purposes. But understanding what's going on here, and I built this at the age of 14, but it took me hours of just looking at photographs going, what the hell's happening? And what was happening back then is the development of the chassis, which fascinated me and still does to this day. But what they did is they isolated the body, and they isolate it with, see those little hinges right there? There's a hinge there and a hinge there, and that is isolating that. Not only is it isolating the body movement, it also allows the body under braking to lift up in the rear. Just that amount makes all the difference in the world.
Well, at that scale though, that's like 2 inches.
Right. And then obviously under acceleration, it launches, but the guide, you don't want the guide pulling out of the slot because you'd lose power. So what happens is it kicks, right, coming out off the turns, and this little guy does that action. So that does the acceleration, this does the deceleration, and these little hinges on the side, that little bit of movement, that does the through the turn. So that gets mounted like so. Obviously now I'm trying to make it as original as it was, because in the 90s I thought, oh, I'm smart now, I'll put heavier wire on it, to get more power to the motor. But this is the original wire, so I'm going to go back to that original wire. So I made this little part to figure out, well, what the hell did I do? But that little part right there gets bolted to that. That's a little thing that I had to make, and then that wire gets stuffed in there, and then this all gets routed. So I'm working with an old photograph that I have. Wow. One of the other things,
in case you were wondering what passion looks like, this is what passion looks like.
One of the other things I was thinking about that was original thought was, I entered endurance races, right, where you race for many hours and the motor sometimes burns out. So I made this little hinge, so you can see, and this is a dynamically balanced mirror, very economical motor at the time, but a very fast motor. But you pull that pin and this motor will swing out of the way, and then you put the good motor, the one that's not damaged, back in, put the pin back in. So you have to set it up before you do all that.
So this is the Le Mans version of the pit stop of swapping drivetrains and motors.
That's the quick change motor. But fast forward to the 90s, and that's what I had to do with ProStock motorcycles, right? Because they wanted to get that motor in and out. Yeah. Now, I didn't use that same system, but it was the thinking you do at age 14 that gets you thinking about different things.
So back up a second. You didn't invent this?
No, this was a technology that existed
on slot cars
at the time. Yeah, I just had to understand it at the ripe old age of 14. You're looking at pictures going, what the hell's going on here? And this keeps, the reason it's separated here, some designs have it separated here, but it allows the body to move, but this is stationary, just keeping the weight just stable at the front.
So how is that better than, you look at McLaren's or Chaparral's in real life, where they did everything they could to get as much aerodynamic force to push down on the chassis? How would the body being able to move be an advantage? I would think that would be a disadvantage.
Well, the wings on slot cars came later. They came, probably
But this is pretty aerodynamic when you look at the scale speeds these things
But
are doing,
there's no downforce at that scale.
Okay.
Until you put, diaplanes on the side and a big wing here to catch the wind.
Okay.
But then what's this downforce is just weight. I mean, if you feel this thing, it's 5-6 ounces. So that's the downforce. It's basically just, it's just weight.
Weight, yeah.
So it's a weight transfer management system more than anything aerodynamic or ground effects.
Right, and as soon as you start looking at wings, as the wings grew, and it started with diaplanes and little skirts on the side and a bigger wing.
Did they ever do diffusers on these things?
Well, no, because you don't. I mean, air doesn't scale, right? So you have to do big things to get little effects. But as wings started to grow on this style body, all the brass started to go away. So the chassis got lighter, the wings got taller, and that was another way to get the downforce. But these are the wheels that were on it, so I got to put those back on. So it's all about.
And that's period correct coloring for that rubber and stuff.
Yeah, they were, and they're hard now, but so they're no good. But they'll.
It's the original Gulf color scheme there going on.
Yeah, right. But it's funny because I painted a Union Jack in sort of a Nigel Mansell style on my helmet when I raced go-karts and motorcycles, and it's funny that I was enamored with the Union Jack, at that early age.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, very cool.
So the next car, this was sports car, right? 124 scale sports car. So,
Oh God, he's got a box. I didn't see the box. I wouldn't have. I might have to recharge the battery.
yeah, tell me when I'm. So what the tape is for? I mean, I just put that on there.
Wait, don't tell us.
I got on a bus one time, and of course, I caught that, and everything went flying. It's like I was devastated. Right? I'm picking up parts all over the floor before the bus leaves.
So Joe, just as an observation while he's opening up this box, Martin was an employee of yours. He's a very quiet guy.
Oh yeah.
And I have to confess, he's very quiet. I mean, quiet. We chat and all that stuff, but. Is this a Martin you haven't seen before, or parts of Martin you haven't seen before?
Oh, I've seen this.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
But that is
I just love the passion and the crazy excitement.
that's a good. I don't know if it's a good replica of Joe Huffaker's Mini, the Huffaker Mini, and I didn't know
When did you build this?
when I was 14.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is another angle winder. You can see the motor is kicked.
Yeah.
And the reason for that is if you tried to put it parallel, the wheels would have to be much bigger.
Oh.
And if you put it inline, you lose a lot of power through the inline gear. It's not
90.
as good as a sidewinder.
Okay.
So sidewinder's good, but small wheels are better.
Because why?
Small wheels lower
Lower
the
to the
center of
ground?
gravity of
Okay.
everything. So center of gravity is still, again, in
King.
NHRA and drag racing, any kind of motorsport, center of gravity, lowering the center of gravity.
What you wouldn't know about Martin's background necessarily is he worked for most of his career. Well, a big portion of his career was at Cosman Racing, designing and building ProStock drag race motorcycle chassis. So if you weren't on a Vance and Hines or a factory Harley, you were probably riding a chassis that Martin built.
So this was pretty broken up. I almost threw it away, and I didn't. I'm thankful, but it had in racing, racing. It's had a big old crack running right down there, and I had to put that back together. It actually had a big chunk taken out of this, and this Champion Equip, by the way, is hand lettered by me when I was a kid.
Pretty kid.
But Champion is the brand of motor.
Okay.
So, but this is the Mini S or something. It's chopped. You've
is
referred to this before and like wanting to build this in real life.
This is the car I wanted to build with the body you gave me. This is a Mini Sprint.
Sprint. That's it.
And I didn't know what a Mini Sprint was. If you Google Mini Sprint, what do you see? You see little round cars, dirt cars. That's what a Mini Sprint is today. But back in the day, there was these two guys in a small garage in England, and they were chopping Minis to get more aerodynamic. And then they were flaring them, and they had these headlights up. They're probably off of a an Escort or something,
Yeah, that
something
sounds
British. But I love that body. And
Yeah, it's got the same.
and of course, this was in the stock car class because there was no rules on what you could run in stock car. So and this is a fairly small car.
Speaking of stock car,
But if you put that next to a Ford Galaxy, it's another inch.
good heavens, it's a
behind
good wood.
that. So this was like
You have a
David,
Mustang in there anywhere?
So this was a David and Goliath thing. Right?
Yeah.
So this is smaller than what most people were running, which was American, stock cars. So you pull up alongside it, and this thing kicked ass because it would just go through the turns faster. It
Well,
would go through
lightweight.
it would go through the banking faster, and yet it was still the same width as a big car. But this
Now,
was
and
actually,
is this a display pad that this is on, or is that just how you transport them?
no, I just bring it so you can see it flat.
Ah.
Because otherwise it sits up and looks stupid.
Oh, there you go. Ah, okay. So ride height controller. Yeah.
So then you get your things. I've got some wins. I don't know, for half a dozen wins, and then
It's the ribbons.
yeah, you
The
get your
ribbons,
little
yeah.
ribbon.
Wow.
One of the fascinating
It's like his ego box.
yeah, right. One of the cool things I think at the track.
Wait a
is-
second. What's that other car? You can't
Is-
pretend you didn't. It's in there.
No, well, I'll show you, but I'm pointing these
sorry.
out right here. So you could go up to the counter, right, and there's a guy behind the counter that you just bow down to because he's got the controls and everything of the track, and you say, "Look, Mister, my car's running really good. I feel like I could break the lap record." And he says, "Okay, everybody off the track. Martin's going to try and break the lap record, or somebody's going to try and break the lap record." And if you did break the lap record, you got that sticker, and then you got your name on the board for however long
Till the record broke.
Yeah, until the record was broken again. But at the 14, 15 years old, that was huge.
Oh,
Yeah,
big time.
I mean, that was
Well, and back in the day, it was a thing. I mean, I don't know what you would compare it to now. Is it likes on Facebook or number of subscribers on YouTube? And it's like you get the badge, man. You're the man.
this was the tire treatment you put on your tires to get them to stick better.
Really?
Oh my God.
And it was
That's
like-
interesting. So stick, but not stick, because you don't want the thing fighting that friction as it's going down the straightaways, right? I mean,
Some people, you can put it into the tires to get them soft. You can also, it started to get really weird. Some people put it on the track in the turns, and then it would drag out through the turns, and then it would get really fucking messy. And sorry, excuse my language. And it spoiled. I think it spoiled. I think the track owner should have said no goo.
Ban that. Yeah.
Everybody's on the same
Which
page.
is what they did at road racing in some divisions. Yeah.
This is a shout out to a friend of mine, and a friend, I was 15, let's just say, and this guy that built these was a plumber, and he was probably in his 20s, but it was like,
oh my God, he's twice as old as you.
he's my hero. He's got a job, he's got a car, he had a Triumph Spitfire, he had a Ford Transit van that he would just drift around roundabouts, but he would go back to his plumbing shop, and he would make the chassis. So you can see the back is copper,
Oh, look at that.
and the side. And so he hinged it opposite, which is really revolutionary. Look, I mean, he made a longer hinge because it hinges. This pan hinges over here, and so he did that, and he also did something else that I sort of. I think I must have copied him because when you look at this. What most chassis do, they just come up around here and they go straight up and they cut them off. So I ran it over the top there to give you a much better solder joint. But it meant when you make this rail, you have to get, you bend like 5 to get 1, but you have to bend these bends in exactly the same spot, and it has to hit the motor, and it's like it makes it 10 times more difficult to run it across instead of just coming up and chopping.
And remember I said, where do you get his level of precision and his need for accuracy? Well, I think it's because of things like that at age 14.
Yeah, and this is another chassis he built as the plumber. So I've preserved him, and I wish I could find the guy, but I've never been able to find him on Facebook or any other searches. But this was kind of revolutionary too, because you can see that this body,
Oh, wow.
that body is, I don't know if you can see that because it's not clear, but that body is the Lotus wedge, right? The Lotus 56 turbine. What's good about it is everybody else that I was racing with were running inlines to get under the body because the rule says you can't see the gear from the top. So they were all running inlines. But if you chose that body, you could squeeze it all in with a 26D. That's a 26D motor, not a 16D, which is longer. So a shorter motor and a wider body gets you an angle winder. Angle winders ruled the roost. They were so much faster than inlines. Everybody converted to angle winders eventually. You never saw another inline, after 60.
So how much of this was car versus slot car controller guy operator?
Oh, the drive. Well, I guess you could say that before wings, before aerodynamic downforce, it was. Well, I mean, you have to build a good chassis that works. It has to have all the right things, just like any race car, and then you have to be a good driver. I wasn't a good driver. In fact, I suffered from, if I was in the lead, I would not fog up. What is it when you get like a heat?
The red mist?
Yeah, the red mist, right? Like, I'm in the lead, oh my God, and you'd psych yourself out. But I managed to pull off a few wins. And I was racing against, 20-year-olds, 30-year-olds,
Yeah.
I was the kid.
And where was this?
This was
Taking place.
this was London, Hounslow was the track that I liked, but there was other tracks that I used to visit.
Did they ever get to the point where the technology outpaced, what's the right way to describe it, where it was just like, you know what, you can just hold the throttle wide open, the car will stay on the track, and whoever had the fastest car won?
Well, that's probably where it is today. If you look at wing car racing.
I was watching, I just stumbled on a video where, and it wasn't like a little teeny track, but they were doing like 2.5 second lap times, and it was like, I couldn't literally see the car to know it's like they're not driving those cars, they're basically just.
Well, if you watch the controller, right, you'd have to watch the controller, but there's a blip, every second and a half, and they're timing it, they are timing it, so that's important.
Yeah, it just didn't.
If you didn't blip, you'd fall off on that
Right.
tightest turn, but pretty much they're punching it the whole way.
Were the tracks like the tracks are?
Yeah,
in
they haven't
Europe?
changed much.
So they're long and fast.
Banked
Yeah,
turns,
banked, yeah.
right. I mean, the club track, now club racing is a different animal altogether. They were
Okay.
flat tracks, they were more conservative, old school, your boffins that would build crazy stuff like four-wheel drives and suspension. And I went to a club track. This was the only club track I could go to because they were racing 1/32 scale. And so they let me race this because it's kind of 1/32 scale.
Yeah, kind of.
And,
seems
but as
to
soon as, it's close enough and they let me race.
Oh,
But-
there's the Ferrari we were screwing around with the
Right.
other day.
So, but I'll get back to that for just a second. So I raced though, but this motor was so power hungry that when I hit the throttle going down the straightaway, all their cars
was-
slowed down. They weren't too happy.
That's
with that.
my kind of technology. Get to the straight first, you win.
Yeah, that's good.
But this body, once this one got damaged, I replaced it with that. My racing color was always the metallic
I was about to
blue.
say, it's like, wait a second. So Ferrari painted blue, you don't see that
It
too
was
often.
always blue, but yeah, it was always the racing blue. I love that blue. And these are all hand painted, by the way. And hand painting a clear body, you paint it on the inside, obviously, but, so it's always shiny.
Yeah.
But you got to go in with a big brush, and you got to go in wet. Otherwise, you see
Right.
metallic. You see a stripe.
So that's not airbrushed.
No, it's just brushed in there.
You're brushing metallic paint. I didn't think that was possible.
Well, you got to
but-
be quick because you got to get it to sort of flow out, right?
Yeah,
And it's
right.
Humbrol, it's in those little parts. But this body, even though they're similar, it never worked. I don't know if it was the weight over the rear or the bubble or whatever, but
Same chassis, different body.
Chassis, you could put this body goes right on there, and it just was,
When you say it didn't work, I mean, you're like,
noticeably slower.
really?
Wow.
Yeah, noticeably slower. So I went back to this, and the chopped rear end because there's no overhang in the rear, which I still, think that that's a good thing. No overhang, even though obviously Porsche seemed to powered through that. But anyway,
That's pretty cool.
Wow.
so that's the slot car.
The slot car.
That's the slot car history. I think we should do a Huffaker tribute. I have another body. We should do a black. Well, it's not. I have a body actually with round headlights and no chop. We should do a Huffaker.
Is your chassis,
tribute.
is your body lengthened? Is it? I mean, I know it's highly
yours
modified
is.
inside, but But is your car mini outside dimension?
It's 80.
Yeah.
Wow.
80. It's
80
80
wheelbase.
wheelbase. So
Wow.
everything's
Wow.
the same. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Nothing's chopped. Can't do that.
Mm. And
Very
this
cool.
this is the old school controller that
Oh,
I
wow, look at
use
that.
religiously. Now it's all thumb controllers, but I don't know how this works.
There's got to be just a rheostat inside
Yeah,
there.
but
doesn't
no,
there?
what I mean is I don't know how this, basically a toy controller was powering that car at that time, because I mean, I know it used to get hot. And in England, we always
Oh
use
yeah.
jack
Oh,
plugs.
I remember
Every time,
that.
right.
Yeah.
And in America, you have alligator clips.
No kidding.
And it's a pain in the ass. You have to
That's
clip it on.
much better.
Well, it's better in one way. I think they changed because if you put it in and you got it halfway in and you didn't go all the way, it was full power. So if you put your car on the track and you got that hit, whoa,
Or
your
part-
car shot off down the
Yeah.
straightaway and crashed before you could put it in or pull it out. So maybe that's why or maybe that's not maybe that's not as good a way to get power from the
Who knows?
tracks of the car. I don't know,
I think it is.
but yeah, I thought it was brilliant because it was easy. You pull it out, go to the next lane, push
Yep.
it in. Anyway,
Pretty cool.
so that's it. That's my life in a box.
Thanks for
There you
sharing.
go. Very cool. All right. Well, there you go. You never know the whole story, but now you know more of the story. So I hope you enjoyed that, and y'all take care till we talk next time. Bye-bye.